Welcome back to Fl'AwesomeBlossom. I am your host, Kassiopeia Flores, and you can call me Kiki. Okay, today is a big day. It is episode 1. Yay! We're going to jump right into it. What's in a name? What is up with that crazy name? Kassiopeia Flores. Too many syllables, too many languages, too many cultures. It's too much. No, it's not. It's exactly as it should be. And I will explain. I chose this name mostly on purpose. Mostly? Question mark? Yes. I chose Kassiopeia because I knew she was a constellation and I wanted something celestial for my name. I am a star baby, and it made sense. I also know I'm connected to something bigger, so of course naming myself after a constellation really fit with this whole idea. And Fleur de la Coeur, well, that's French. It literally translates to flowers of the heart. And I chose that on purpose so that every time I got in front of the camera and behind this microphone, I would remind myself that we are talking about heartfelt things in this podcast. And I would remind myself to open my heart and to open my mind and to let it bloom and blossom like a flower. Let it change like flowers do. Let it grow and get stronger. Be fragile. Be strong. Change. Evolve. I wanted that as a constant reminder. Then someone told me that it's actually a Harry Potter character, so I'm really sorry. That's just a total coincidence. I've watched 2 of the movies. I don't recall this character. I never read the books. Someone told me that she was beautiful and brave, so I really like that because I believe I'm beautiful and I'm hoping I can recover some of my bravery. And you know what, I am, because doing this is brave and reckless and all of that. All right. So Flores, where'd that come from? Well, I panicked and I threw another flower on top because that's how much I love flowers. So Kassiopeia Fleur de la Coeur Flores it is, at your service. And I do think of this podcast as a service. It is certainly servicing my creative outlet, and I get to wear my fabulous outfits. And I hope to be of service to you. I hope that you learn something when you're here. I hope that when we get to the human anatomy that you are receptive to that. And my goal there is to share it in a way that's engaging and fun. So hopefully you'll learn a thing or two about a thing or two with me. Back to the name, because I'm not quite done. After I chose Kassiopeia Fleur de la Coeur Flores, I decided to go down the rabbit hole and find out everything there is to know about Kassiopeia. Why is this constellation named after this person? Who is this person? What did she do to deserve being immortalized in the night sky? So I did. I went down that rabbit hole and I found out everything that there is to know about Kassiopeia. Her myth, her constellation, her asterism. Her what now? Settle down. Let's start with the constellation, okay? A constellation is a series of stars up in the sky, but an asterism is the shape that it takes in the sky as a recognizable pattern, and that's what we use to recognize that is that particular constellation. So I did a little drawing, and this is the asterism for Kassiopeia. A little bit of a wonky W. And I couldn't believe it. Wow. A W. This is a woman's podcast for women, but we're not excluding anyone, but definitely it's from the view of a woman. And to have a W as the asterism, as a symbol, amazing. The other thing we're going to do here is we're going to pay attention to this little guy right here. That one's orange. Yep, it's an orange star. And if I were to be a star in the night sky, I 100% would be the orange star within the asterism of Kassiopeia. Within this constellation, she has some of the most colorful stars. She has blue stars, yellow stars, this particular orange star. She's had a supernova event already. And there's another star that's set to go supernova. Maybe it's this one. Within the constellation of Kassiopeia, She has the strongest radio waves. This lifted my spirits because I'm hoping that this is a strong message that goes out to my community, my family, my community, the world, and beyond. And I just loved that she has this strength already within the constellation. Amazing. Also, she's got several intriguing features within the constellation, and we're going to go over some of them. All right. First thing, she has 3 nebulas. Okay, so a nebula is a gaseous, dusty gathering of particles within the constellation. Please look it up to learn about it specifically, but you just have to know it's kind of like this gassy, dusty, weird, like clustery thing. And she's got 3 of them, and they are a heart nebula, which, by the way, doesn't really look like this particular symbol. It actually looks a little bit more like the anatomy of a human heart. So that thrilled me because I'm definitely going to be sharing my knowledge of the human body with you. The second nebula is a soul nebula, and I've chosen to put that as an infinity symbol here because I believe our souls are infinite. And then, like 2 other features, this last nebula, it's a Pac-Man nebula. Yes, that's right, Pac-Man, as in wah 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 from my childhood, from the 80s. Now I know it's kind of orangey and reddish. It's not the yellow that we're used to. But if you remember, Mrs. Pac-Man had a kind of pinky, orangey, reddish, I think, bow. So yay. And then another feature within this constellation, just to hammer home that this is my home. This is my home. She's got a white rose cluster. Unbelievable. Even the stars have flowers for me. Honestly. So it just felt like kismet. It just felt like, yes, 100% Kassiopeia is my name. And Kiki, well, I mean, come on. It sounds like a party. Plus, Kassiopeia sometimes is hard to say, or a little bit long to say. Kiki sounds a little bit fun. All right, that's the constellation and the asterism. And now let's find out about the woman herself. What did she do to be immortalized in the night sky? Was this a good thing? Is this a bad thing? I don't know. You tell me. Let's get into the story. So to understand the story, we have to talk a little bit about Greek mythology because it's based in that. All right. She was a real person. There's historical records of a woman named Kassiopeia who was the queen of Ethiopia. Now, Ethiopia is an area in northern Africa that was quite huge. It was all along that upper coastline and on both sides of Africa and on the other opposite side there. And it was this massive, massive kingdom. And Kassiopeia and her husband Cephas were king and queen for many years, many very peaceful years. Now, the one thing to know about Kassiopeia is that she was beautiful. I mean, epically gorgeous. And she knew it. And what do we know about narcissists? That's almost always their downfall. And that is certainly the case with Kassiopeia. So, it's a little bit of a complicated story. I'm going to try and keep it short, but, as one of my friends has mentioned to me on numerous occasions, Kassiopeia, always quick to start a story, never so quick to finish one. But I'm going to try and keep this as concise as possible. All right, so we are way back in the way back time, okay? The Greek gods rule at this time, right? So we've got Zeus. He's the king of the gods. He's married to his sister Hera. We're not going to talk about that relationship. But anyway, she's the queen of the gods. And then Zeus has a bunch of brothers and sisters. He's got 1 million kids. And that's the upper echelon of Olympus there, right? There's about 12 of them. And then under that are like Zeus's children, the demigods. These are half gods, half man. Most of them are Zeus's kids. Some of them are Poseidon's kids. Some of the women, like Hera has a couple mortal kids as well. But our story really revolves around Poseidon, Cassiopeia, Poseidon, and the hero Perseus. So here we are, way back in the way back times, and Cassiopeia is sitting by the waters near her kingdom. In her kingdom, she's having a picnic, and she's brushing her gorgeous hair, and she's making up a little song because she likes to do that kind of thing. I like to do that kind of thing. I can relate to her. I'm also a little bit vain. Have you seen me? Look at this, right? Anyway, she's making up a little song. And in my mind, I like to believe that one of two things have happened with Cassiopeia. Either she doesn't pay attention to all the deities. She's not paying attention to their relationships. It's hard to keep up with them, I agree, because, Zeus is sleeping around a lot. So is Poseidon. It's really hard to keep a track of who's who, who's whose kid. Where are they in the hierarchy of things? Like, how much power do they have? So maybe she lost track of that. Or alternatively, this one I can relate to. She's learning about everybody in school. She's learning about all the deities, all the gods, and all the creatures like Cyclops and the Gorgons. Pay attention to the Gorgons. We're going to come back to them. And Cyclops, we got that. Maybe the giants. There's all these creatures. And maybe she got a little bit sleepy at one point. And when they were talking about the sea creatures, maybe she was confused, or like she just missed this lesson, and she just didn't really know what she was talking about. Because in her little ditty, she claims that she is more beautiful than all of the Nereids. Now, if you're not sure what a Nereid is, I'm going to explain. A Nereid is a sea nymph, and it's not to be confused with a mermaid or a siren. Okay, there is nothing fishy about this particular nymph. This is a fully formed woman who has the ability to live in any aquatic state. She can live underwater, she can live by the water, on the land, as long as she's connected to some water. But there's nothing. She has no tail, she has no scales, she has no fins and no gills. There is nothing fish-like about her. She is beautiful. And there are 50 of them. That's correct. 50. And they are the entourage of Poseidon. In fact, he's married to one of them. Her name is Amphitrite. So let's just hear this Greek word amphibian, and then we're going to say Poseidon's wife's name again, Aphrodite, right? We can kind of see Amphitrite, amphibian. We can hear that. Amphitrite is his wife's name. Sorry about that error over there. Sorry, Amphitrite, don't smite me. Anyway, there's nothing fishy about Amphitrite. She's stunning. She's beautiful. She's probably the most beautiful of them because she's Poseidon's wife. But, I mean, it's subjective. And Cassiopeia says this statement that she's more beautiful than all 50 of them. And she says it by the water. And what do we know about water? Well, we know our voices carry over water. But not just that. If you're a mythical creature and the water is your connection, that's like a message. It's like speed dial. Like, unbelievable. So, of course, it comes back to Aphrodite. And she hears that this mortal, Cassiopeia, even though she might be a beautiful woman, she's still a mortal. And she cannot be put above anyone who's not a mortal. That just can't fly. So she goes crying to Poseidon. Because even though Amphitrite is a goddess in her own right, as a sea nymph, she doesn't have the power that Poseidon does. So she goes crying to her husband and she says, Poseidon, this woman over here, she thinks she's more beautiful than my sisters and I. And we can't have that. That's ridiculous. What a ridiculous, ludicrous statement. Go punish her. And Poseidon was in a bit of a spot because he actually really liked Cassiopeia. He saw her on his travels, and he kind of went on by her area, saw her, and was like, whoa, she's beautiful. But then he went on a little bit further on his travels, and he met Medusa, who was at that time a mortal and really beautiful, and he decided Medusa was more beautiful than Cassiopeia. And Medusa We don't know who she is. Are we sidetracking here? Is this important to the story? Yes, we're sidetracking, but it is definitely important to the story. So Poseidon passes up Cassiopeia in lieu of Medusa. Medusa, I'm sure we all know of her later form, but let's talk about her beginnings. We have to tell her story so we understand where we get to with Cassiopeia. Medusa was born to a family of monsters. Her siblings, 3 of her sisters and 1 of her brothers, they were all gorgons. They're kind of like the bottom half of a snake, kind of like human torso, human face, but with some boar-like features as well, and like kind of hideous monsters. And Medusa was born into this family as a mortal, beautiful girl. And her whole family was like, oh, it's not her fault. You know, it's the wrong chromosome. These things happen. You know, we're going to be we're going to do right by her. We're going to raise her as our own. So she was raised in the monster family. She was raised with all the gorgons, and she's having a happy life, but she's decided she doesn't really like people, and particularly men. And, you know, I don't blame her. She's a gorgeous woman. She was probably getting catcalled, getting harassed. You know, she just hated it. She just was like, no, thanks. So she decided to become a priestess at the temple of the virgin goddess Athena. Now, Athena, she's associated with some battle warrior, right? She's a warrior goddess, but she chose to be a virgin. And Medusa has dedicated her life to her. She's in the temple when Poseidon comes by and sees her. And Poseidon's like, yo, hey, Medusa. And Medusa's like, no, thanks. And unfortunately for Medusa, she doesn't realize that Poseidon is a god and that he's not going to take no thanks for an answer. In fact, he does not take no thanks for an answer, and in fact takes her into the temple and he rapes her. And this pisses off Athena and Medusa, of course. Medusa cannot believe that this just happened to her. She's like, this is exactly why I didn't want to be around men. Exactly this. My beauty is a curse. And Athena, she cannot believe that her brother has just done this, like has just defiled her temple in the most heinous way. So she's pissed off, and she hears Medusa just crying her eyes out like, oh my God, I can't believe this happened to me. Like, oh, my beauty is a curse. And Athena's like, you know what, sister, it is. Your beauty is a curse, and men are pigs, and I'm going to help you out. Boom. Turns her into a gorgon. So Medusa slithers away and goes to live the rest of her life as a gorgon. Okay. But the main point of that story is that Poseidon had sex with her, okay? Go back. Now, here we are. Poseidon, he's like, okay, Cassiopeia's pretty, but happy wife, happy life. So I'm going to have to send that sea creature, the Kraken, to the coast of Ethiopia to teach this mortal queen a lesson and ravage the coast and the seas there, and just sort of, remind them to stop being so boastful. And this happens. He releases the Kraken, and this sea creature, Cetus, he wreaks havoc on the coastline. And because he's this massive monster, not only is he destroying stuff in the water, but he can reach onto the land, he can destroy farms, like things are going bad. It's not just happening for days, it's not just happening for weeks, it's happening for months and months and months. And now Cassiopeia is having a conversation with her husband Cephas, and Cephas is like, we're obviously being punished by the gods. Can you think of any reason why we would be punished by the gods? And Cassiopeia's like, no, I can't think of any reason. Maybe it's because we haven't married Andromeda off, but your brother wants her, and we can't have that. And so they're in this tight spot. They don't know what to do. Their coastline is being destroyed. It's like, what do you do? What do you do in ancient times when things are out of your control and you don't know what the heck's going on? Well, you consult the oracle, of course. But because there's too much business to attend to in the court, Cephas and Cassiopeia cannot go themselves to consult the oracle. Instead, they send Phineus, who is Cephas's brother, the uncle to Andromeda, Cassiopeia and Cephas's beautiful daughter, Andromeda. And Phineas has had his eye on Andromeda since she was a little girl and wants to be her husband. But he doesn't really want to be her husband. He just wants to be king, right? So he wants to marry her and then off his brother so that he can be king of Ethiopia. And Cassiopeia kind of knew this. That's why she was like, no, you cannot marry Andromeda. No. Plus, Andromeda's a princess, and she's destined to be a queen someplace else. So we're not going to marry her within our kingdom. We're going to marry her to an outer kingdom so we can amalgamate that kingdom. We can join our kingdoms and increase our land and wealth and all that. So Phineas, as a loyal subject to his king and queen, his brother and sister-in-law, says, okay, no problem, I'll go consult the oracle. And off he goes to consult the oracle, who is the go-between, right? The oracle is the go-between between the gods and the mortal realm. And they're to interpret the will of the gods. They're to interpret many signs like this sea creature wreaking havoc on their coastline. Interpret that as, yes, you're being punished by the gods, and then come up with a solution. So Phineas goes off to consult the oracle. Alternative theory, he just had a backyard barbecue for a couple days and then came back and said, hey, consulted the oracle. I got, good news, bad news. And Cassiopeia's like, oh, okay, well, tell me the good news. And Phineas is like, okay, well, the good news is I know how to save the kingdom. I know how the sea creature Cetus will be assuaged. And Cassiopeia's like, great. And then Cephas, he's a little bit of a smarter guy. He's like, well, what's the bad news? And Phineas is like, well, the bad news is you have to sacrifice your daughter Andromeda. You got to tie her to some rocks and let the sea beast come and consume her. And Cassiopeia thinks about this for a minute, for one hot second, and is like, yep, that seems like the logical thing to do. So for her, perhaps in her mind, two things are happening. One, she super does not want Andromeda to marry this guy because actually this guy, Phineas, is like a total deviant and there's lots of stories about him being like a super shady, terrible guy. And so she doesn't want her daughter to marry that guy. She knows she's going to have to marry her to someone, and it's probably not going to be someone awesome. It's probably going to be someone terrible. So maybe she's in her mind thinking, sacrificing her to a sea beast might be a kinder fate for Andromeda. But probably what she's really thinking is, I'm still going to come out roses here. Even though it might have been me and my boastfulness that caused all this, my daughter's going to be the one that's punished, and I'm going to get off scot-free. And my kingdom's going to be saved, and, that'll be that. So they make preparations to have Andromeda sacrificed, and she's tied to these rocks on this cliff. And just then, Perseus, who is a hero, he's one of Zeus's sons, Perseus comes flying by on the winged horse Pegasus. Pegasus happened to be born just a few days ago, right after Perseus chops off Medusa's head. What? Okay, we have to talk a little bit more about Medusa. After she gets turned into a Gorgon, Athena, she doesn't just turn her into a Gorgon with the scales on the snake on the bottom, female torso, kind of pig mouth. She gives her 100 snakes for hairs, and they're all alive. They're all hissing and moving. And the other thing that she gives Medusa to help her, because she feels bad for Medusa, because Medusa just got raped by her brother. She feels bad. So she gives Medusa another gift to kind of keep men away. Well, people in general. She gives her a stone cold gaze, a stone cold glare, the OG stone cold glare. Anybody who makes eye contact with Medusa gets turned to stone. This is why Perseus was sent to go kill her. He comes back from this impossible mission of slaying Medusa. He's done it. So spoiler alert, Medusa's dead. Perseus cuts her head off and he puts it into a satchel and he hops onto Pegasus, and Pegasus and another dude just sort of explode out of Medusa's neck right after she is beheaded. So here's this beautiful winged horse, and then Perseus captures the winged horse. His name is Pegasus. And Pegasus agrees to be Perseus's companion because, he's just been born. He doesn't know what's up with the what's up yet. And so Perseus hops on Pegasus and he goes to fly on home. And as he's flying on home, first he's going over modern-day Libya and he accidentally drops one of Medusa's hair snakes down onto Libya. And now the country of Libya is just infested with snakes. Or so the story goes. Anyway, Perseus leaves that area, flying on by, and he sees Andromeda tied to the rocks. He sees this beautiful woman there, and he falls instantly in love with her. Also, she's not the typical damsel in distress. She's not just like screaming, for just screaming. She's literally like, hey, you up in the sky, can you come down here? Would you maybe undo my chains? We only have about 5 minutes, but could you do this for me? She's being really calm, cool, collective. She's talking to him nice and polite. And he's like, oh my God, I'm being beckoned by a gorgeous woman to come down there? Don't mind if I do. Doodly do. And so he goes onto Pegasus and he lands and he starts to try and rescue her. And she's like, okay, look, I super do need you to rescue me, but there's the Kraken. And Perseus turns around. He's like, oh, shiz. Here's this giant sea beast coming out of the ocean like this. He's going to come and he's going to eat Andromeda. And Perseus thinks fast. He gets up onto Pegasus and he starts flying around the monster, around and around and around. And then he gets this brilliant idea and he takes out Medusa's head from the sack and he's trying to show it to Cetus. And now, as you can imagine, just imagine this scene, okay? The sacrifice is being set up. The entire kingdom has come to watch this. And what are they seeing? They're seeing this man, Perseus, this hero. They all know about him. He's Zeus's son. He's already a demigod. And then he does some amazing things. And so his reputation is preceding him. They already know he's a hero. And they're like, oh no. The entire kingdom is like, Perseus, get away. Don't rescue her. Fly on by. We need her to die so our coastline can, be rescued. And Perseus, he doesn't care about them. He's not even hearing them. I mean, he's dodging tentacles. It's chaos. And he's got the head and he's flying around. And anyone who's looking at this scene, they just can't take their eyes off of it. But unfortunately, Medusa's head is going around and around. And anybody who meets that Gorgon's eyes turns to stone. Lots of citizens are turning to stone. That is the fate of Kassiopeia. She gets turned to stone. However, let's finish this story. Good news. So does Cato. So does Cetus, the sea beast, the Kraken. He gets turned to stone as well. And Perseus rescues Andromeda. Now, Poseidon is like, oh, that happened. Kassiopeia, the beautiful queen of Ethiopia, she's turned to stone. He didn't mean for that to happen. He really liked her. But he cannot bring her into the sea. He cannot bring her into the ocean and give her a new life. The Nereids would kill her. They would murder her. They would make her life a living hell. And he cannot bring her up into Olympus because that wouldn't do either. So what does he do? He throws her into the night sky in a similar position as to what Andromeda was tied to the rocks. So she's in this kind of W. But he throws her up there with her throne. And for 6 months out of the year, the constellation of Kassiopeia revolves around Polaris, the North Star. So for 6 months out of the year, she's a W as she's going. And then the other 6 months, boom, she's turned upside down and she is clinging to her throne as a reminder to be a little bit more humble, a little less boastful, just a little nicer of a person, a little more humble. So there we have it. That is the story of Kassiopeia. Now there's another version where she doesn't get turned to stone by Medusa, that, in fact, Perseus rescues Andromeda, brings her back to the palace, and on the way back to the palace, hears all about how Andromeda was like pretty much set up by her mom to take the fall. And Perseus is like, I don't like that. That's not a good story. Like, it doesn't make your mom look super cool. And Andromeda's like, well, my mom's not really super cool. Like, she's super vain. And so Perseus invites her to come with her. Says, hey, Andromeda, like, you don't have to stay here. You don't have to. Like, I'm gonna go on some more adventures. I'm a demigod, and I dig you. You want to come with? And she knows that she can't stay behind. She can't stay at the palace because her parents are gonna marry her off. Like, her mom's impossible to live with, and her uncle is still like creeping on her. So she takes Perseus up on his offer, and that's how they get together. And the last thing I'm going to say about Kassiopeia is that it's kind of an interesting and lovely thing that she's the only one up in the sky with her whole family. So Cephas, he loved her so very much. At the end of his days, he's just pleading with the gods, please, I miss her, I love her, I want to be with her. And Poseidon, he also likes Cephas because Cephas was a super good king. He did everything he was supposed to do. He did all the proper sacrifices. He did all the things. And so he throws Cephas up in the sky to be with his wife, Kassiopeia. And not only that, Andromeda and Perseus, and then in this unbelievable gesture of benevolence, Zeus actually acquires Pegasus after a while. Like, Pegasus leaves Perseus on like pleasant terms. It's not unpleasant. Pleasant terms, and he goes and he hangs out with Zeus, and Zeus sends him on lots of different missions, and then Zeus puts him in a stable to live out the end of his days. But when Pegasus dies, Zeus puts him up into the sky and reunites him with Perseus. And it's lovely. Also, there's some pretty cool asteroids that happen every August, the Palladians, and that's part of like the Perseus. And it's really lovely. So that whole section of the sky with Kassiopeia, Cephas, Andromeda, Pegasus, and Perseus, it's just full of these asteroids in the summer, and it's glorious. And I'm just going to say that one more fun little thing. We didn't know it, but when my husband and I got married, it was the height of that of the meteor shower. And we were traveling to our little mini moon place. It was the middle of the night. It was 2:00 in the morning. And we pull over on the side of the road because we were desperate, both of us desperate to go to the washroom. We're in the middle of absolute nowhere. The night sky is just absolutely beautiful. And when we're getting back into the car, we have a bit of a smooch, and I see a shooting star. It's my wedding night, and I'm like, oh my God. And my husband sees another shooting star. And then, soon it's like another one and another one. Then we realize, oh yeah, meteor shower. But man alive, we felt like the sky was celebrating for us. And just knowing that that's in that neck of that woods, that Kassiopeia, Perseus area, I don't know, makes me feel good. Makes me feel like this is what I'm supposed to be doing. I am on my path. So thank you so much for joining me for the over-explanation of Kassiopeia, Fleur de la Queue Flores. Please join me next time. We are going to go a little bit further into the name game, a little further into what's in a name. We're going to do it Romeo and Juliet style. So we're going to do a little bit of Shakespeare shakedown. And I hope you come back for that. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you learned a thing or two about a thing or two. I hope you laughed a little bit. Hope you were entertained. Please join our YouTube channel. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. Check out our website at www.Fl'AwesomeBlossom.com. There's a blog there. There's more fun little things there. And I hope you'll join us. Until then, I hope you love your Fl'awesome Blossom.